Welcome back to the show, and today, my friends, we're going to be talking about graphics modes in games like Horizon Forbidden West and Cyberpunk 2077, and when all is said and done, asking you, beautiful audience, what is your preferred way to take on next-gen games? Do you opt for that hyper-smooth frame-rate heavy experience, or are you all about that high-fidelity, ray-trace-enabled life? Because contrary to my title, there is of course no one right answer, and I want to hear your piece because I've got pretty strong opinions of my own. But before we get into that, let's break down what these options are and why they exist. Since the release of the PS5 and Xbox Series X console, it's been increasingly common for games to ship with multiple graphics options that give you the option of playing with a greater level of graphical fidelity or with a heavier emphasis on frames per second. Why are game developers feeling the need to include multiple graphics modes, you ask? Well, it's partially down to the fact that these audio-visual wizards are still learning how to get the most out of these more powerful systems. I mean, let's be honest, the visual quality of the games we're seeing now is going to pale in comparison to the ones that we're going to see at the end of this console cycle. And because of this, developers attempting to implement ever more demanding graphical features, such as ray tracing, are being forced to scale back other key graphical elements. However, in this exciting new era where 60 frames per second gaming is rightly considered to be the standard, you simply cannot release a game which has a targeted frame rate of 30 frames per second. It therefore makes sense for developers who want to tout the next-gen capabilities of their games to give players the option of two distinct modes. One that gives us the must-have 60 frames per second smooth gameplay experience, and another that allows them to push the consoles and showcase their games with an emphasis on graphical fidelity and next-gen perks at the cost of slashing the frame rate in half. It's then up to the viewer whether they want to pay that frame rate tax or settle for the lower fidelity experience. And in recent days, following the release of Cyberpunk 2077's next-gen patch and the launch of Horizon Forbidden West, I've seen a lot of discussion form around this choice. And these two games have also served to highlight the fact that not all of these two-tier graphical modes are created equal, which of course adds another layer to the debate. For example, the Cyberpunk 2077 ray tracing mode is, in my opinion, a barely noticeable step up from the performance mode visually speaking. I mean, yes, the shadows are more diffuse and realistic across the board, which is far more visible indoors rather than outdoors, but honestly, I just didn't see a dramatic enough improvement to justify me playing at 30 frames per second. The resolution mode for Horizon Forbidden West, however, represented a significant visual improvement over the 60 frames per second mode. In brief, Forbidden West Performance Mode runs the game at 1800p at the aforementioned frame rate, while the Resolution Mode gives access to native 4K resolution, albeit, again, at a lackluster 30 frames per second. On Favor Resolution Mode, the game is noticeably sharper, and objects in the distance are much better defined and lifelike. And that second point is extremely important considering that I've spent around 90% of my time with the game getting as high up as I can and looking over the majestic landscapes created by the talented team at Guerrilla Games. In both cases, I spent hours switching back and forth between graphics modes trying to reprogram my brain to accept 30 frames per second gaming, but in the end it was just too jarring and all in vain. With the higher quality presets, first-person head movement transformed the game into a juddering trial at best and an outright blur at its worst, and that wasn't just a visual problem, it affects the overall gameplay experience, which in turn tanked my enjoyment. So in the end, despite feeling a huge dose of graphical FOMO, particularly when it came to Horizon Forbidden West, I realized that as a person, I'm just locked into playing 60 frames per second. But of course, that's just me, and as is always the case on this dirty little mudball that we call Earth, there's always someone with another point of view, and in this case, I want to know it, because these graphical options aren't going anywhere anytime soon. So let me know how you like to play your next-gen titles, both in the comments section below, and for subscribers, also via the poll that I'll be throwing up right after this video goes live. Am I right in my conviction of frame rate over beauty? Is it a sliding scale, or am I an idiotic boob who deserves to be liquefied with extreme prejudice? There are no wrong answers here. And before I go, I just want to say a big thank you and congratulations to subscriber L Fudd who won this month's Horizon Forbidden West giveaway. And that's it for today's video. If you enjoyed the episode, be sure to like and subscribe, and to keep it here for all the biggest news, reviews, and reactions from across the video gaming industry.